Good morning, second grade scholars, and happy Friday. Today is April 3rd, and this is your ELA mini lesson number 10. We are still working on noticing topics or main ideas and details in nonfiction texts, and today we're working on a strategy called Survey the Text. Surveying the text is a pre-reading strategy or something that you do before you actually focus on reading the text in the sentences and paragraphs. And I'm going to show you in a moment how I could preview or survey this text by turning the pages, looking at the headings, the special parts of the text, such as little fun facts. This case has a question and answer, that's a joke, using the photographs, any maps or other nonfiction text features. And I can just focus on those details in the text before I start reading and come up with what I think the main idea of the text could be about. That way, while I am reading the text, I'll be able to keep that main idea in mind and see if, when I actually go back to reread the text, if my prediction was correct or if I should change what I think the main idea of the text is. We actually have two learning targets today because we are going to do something before we read the book. That's what our first learning target is for. And then after you read the text, you're going to have another goal. So our first learning target is I can use pre-reading strategies to predict what a text is mostly about. And our second learning target is I can revise my ideas about a text after reading. So before you start reading the text, you want to look and see what pops out at you. These could be headings, because we know that in a nonfiction text and other texts, headings are usually appear in larger font or bold, and the author put it there for a reason. They want you to know something about it. So what do I notice in the headings? What can I see in photographs or diagrams or any other nonfiction text features? Before reading, I'm not going to actually read the paragraphs in the text, but just kind of see what pops out at me, what gets my interest, because the author put all of those features there for a reason to teach you something about the text. So I'm going to use those details and think, well, what could the main idea or topic of this text be? I'm going to make a prediction about what I think the text is about, and I can record that as well. Then I'm going to read the text, keeping that main idea in mind, and I'll be able to check, do the facts match what I thought the main idea is? Sometimes they might, or after reading the bigger chunks of text, I might want to go ahead and revise what I initially thought the main idea of the text was. I'm going to show you how I can preview a text with an example. So remember, I'm going to preview the text. I'm not going to read it. This is going to be a quick activity. So let me start by looking at the title, Coral Reefs. Okay, what might I learn about coral reefs? City under the sea. I'm noticing in the photograph there are a lot of different pieces of coral. Here I see a map, and it says there's a key that this is where coral reefs are. Okay. Seeing some interesting sea creatures that live in reefs. Reef builders. Oh, and there's different types of coral. Oh my goodness. Look at all of these pieces of coral here. Hmm. So, oh, in the zone? But I can look at this diagram and it says there are different zones where reefs can be. Neighbors on the reef. Oh my goodness, this is even a piece of coral. Here's a clam and a starfish. I know that is not the same thing as coral. And here's a little seahorse. So right here I'm noticing there's animals that live in reefs. Here's another fish. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, and plants. All right, so I'm getting a pretty good idea of what I think this text might be about. So far, I'm thinking that the text is going to be about animals that live on a coral reef, where reefs can be, different types of coral that make up a reef. So I'm pretty confident I've got a good grasp of what the main idea could be. So I'm going to go ahead and record that on my chart. That way, after I read the text, I can see if my prediction is correct. Now that I've previewed the text, I want to think about what I noticed and what I think the main topic or main idea could be. So I saw lots of details about plants and animals that live in a coral reef. So I could say that the text is mostly about that. I also remember there was a map in there to show me where coral reefs are. And then there was a diagram too about different zones. So I'm thinking about how I could put those ideas into one sentence about the main idea. My idea is that I predict that this text is mostly about, oops, I forgot the word about. Teachers always reread their work too and make edits when we need to. I predict that this text is mostly about the plants and animals that live in coral reefs and where coral reefs are located. Now, what I would do is go back to the text and read it with keeping that idea in mind. I might notice that I need to add something to what the main idea is, what the author wants me to understand about coral reefs, or maybe there's something that I mentioned in my statement that really isn't the focus of the text, so I might take that out when I rewrite my main idea statement. All right, scholars. So the text that you're going to listen to today is called Weird Sea Creatures by Laura Marsh, and this is another National Geographic Kids nonfiction text. You can find this book by logging into your Epic account and looking in your mailbox. It's in the same collection that our other texts were in this week. So, your first job is to flip through the pages of the text and make a prediction about what this text is mostly about. So, what do you notice when you look at the title, the headings, and the visuals? What do you think this text is mostly about? Once you preview the text, write a prediction statement, and you can use the sentence starter. I predict that this text is mostly about, and go ahead filling that in. Remember, using what you noticed when you previewed the text. Now, in order to be successful with this text, remember, you're thinking about not the topic, but what the author wants you to know about the topic. So we could say, by looking at the cover, that this text is mostly about weird sea creatures. After you preview the text, think about what the author wants you to know about weird sea creatures. Then, once you're finished reading the text, write a statement about what the main idea is. You can use the sentence starter. This text is mostly about, and remember, you're focusing on the so what. If the what is weird sea creatures, what does the author want you to understand about them? And you might have one or two ideas. So you can find this text in your Epic account. I'll also put a link down below in the description box as well as the sentence starters. Happy reading, girls, and have a great weekend.